Welcome everyone to the All Gunners podcast. This is season 2, episode 3, and we're back after a bit of a break, letting Arsenal get away with their busy schedule so we can break all of the games down. But I wouldn't be able to break all of the games down alone. As always, I have my brother from another mother with me, Harry. Harry, how are you, mate?
I'm good, man. Zed, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. While you were away, I kind of attempted to replace you. Not gonna lie, we had
I did
Yusuf
see
to
that.
do some shorts. We were trialing out. We were interviewing people.
Listen, I was gonna hate, but when you told me who he was, I let him go. Nobody can replace me, though. Yeah, don't forget that, Yusuf. Don't forget us when you're famous, Yusuf. Though.
Shout out to Yusuf and thanks him
Yeah,
for
big up,
coming
Yusuf.
and providing us with some interesting factoids about Chelsea.
Yeah.
Not that we care much about that club, but yeah, he gave us some interesting insights from a young fan's perspective of
Yeah, yeah.
the firestorm that's happening.
And what's beautiful about that, on a serious note, is that look, this pod is we do what we say on the tin. Really,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody's
exactly.
welcome. Everybody can come on and express their views. Doesn't matter what club you are from and who you support. Look,
Absolutely.
We even let a Chelsea supporter on, guys. Come on, come
Well,
on.
he wasn't the first. We let a Man U supporter on first, so
Exactly,
but
exactly. Yeah,
having a Blues supporter on is good as well. Also, a shout out to Dean Khan for commenting on the videos. Thanks as
yeah, yeah.
always, mate. Keep
Who is
tuning
Dean
in.
Khan anyway?
I don't know, but a big fan
Some
apparently.
random.
So some
Okay,
random fan,
okay.
but
Dean
shout out to
Khan,
him.
big up. Come on to the pod, my friend. Let's do this, man.
Exactly, exactly. Thanks for posting comments and enjoyed engaging with you, especially on Mudrick to Chelsea. Ain't happening. But anyway,
Nah, he's
so
forget
we have
that.
a packed episode for everyone to listen to and to break down. We have 3 games, Harry. We
Yeah,
have
there's been
Brighton
quite a few
away.
games, hasn't there?
It's
Yeah,
been it's been a busy period for Arsenal. We have 2 Premier League games, which were tough games. Then we had an FA Cup game away at Oxford, and we've got very tough games coming up. So we're going to break all of those down, and then we're going to look at the transfer window and see what's happening with our dear friend Mudrik, who seems to be in prison at Shakhtar,
Mudrik. Yeah, absolutely. Free
according to the memes he's liking.
hashtag
Hashtag free
free
Mudrik.
Mudrik. Yeah, come on, Mudrik.
Absolutely.
Let's bring you here.
Yeah. Well, mate, let's get straight into it in the
Go on.
first segment then. The first game that we want to talk about is Brighton versus Arsenal. This is an away game. We know how tough Brighton can be. They're having a wonderful season. They've been a bit of a bogey team for Arsenal in the seasons gone by as
Yeah,
well. We always struggle. But yeah, this was a interesting game to say the least. I
yeah,
wouldn't say I
and
was fully confident, but what did you think?
no, neither was I. Remember from the last pod, this was the game that I really worried about. But look,
Hmm.
as it keeps happening, Arsenal just keep on surprising us. I think this is probably the time where we need to really recognise, if we haven't already, that this isn't the same Arsenal from old. We're a
Wow.
different.
Yeah.
Uh, we're a different Arsenal, and I know you're going to probably come on to it, and you're probably going to say that the score line look flatters,
It
but
flattered
actually
us. It flattered us. That's my opinion. I think it did.
the game itself, I mean, if you're watching that first half, we're cruising, really, aren't we? The sort of the way that we're swinging through. But I think
Hmm.
there was some weaknesses which I know you're going to come on and touch upon
Yeah.
in a minute. But yeah, I think we dominated the game really overall, and 4-2, we could have put the ball in the net more. We've got to remember
Hmm.
as well is that we're playing without our main number 9 recognised striker, and we have to give props to. I know we're going to be talking probably more about Eddie as we
Yeah.
go through the other games. But again, he scored against West Ham. He
Yeah.
scored. He scored a good goal against Brighton as well, away from home as well.
Away
Difficult.
from
You know
home.
these
Yeah.
these are the tests that really we're expecting him to overcome really. And
Hmm.
so far, I mean, certainly in this game, he's answered his critics.
Yeah, well, that's 2-2 for him in the Premier League, 2 starts.
Yeah,
And I go back to one of the interviews that he did last season before he signed the contract extension. He was like, I've never been given an opportunity. It's not like 1 or 2 games here and there or coming on
yeah,
in the 60th or 70th minute. He
yeah.
can't impact the game. He wanted a run of 5, 6 games. And he's getting the opportunity to do that now. And to be fair to him, he's living up to it. He's doing the job of a number 9, which is need which is put the ball in the back of the net, and he's doing it. He's did it this game. He did it against West Ham. Both, you know, good, decent Premier League oppositions, right? But he did score. He gets on the score sheet, and he is affecting the game. So
Yeah.
I think I had my fears as him being the backup number nine, but he's played very well, and I can't really say um, any problems. I've not seen any problems with it. What's your feelings with Eddie?
Yeah, as I said, I think there's quite a lot of pressure on him, and I think the way that he handled the one of the sort of post game interviews, I've got a feeling it was that he said, look, there's always pressure on every player at Arsenal. So
Yeah,
I think and if you look at him, he's always been a great finisher.
yeah,
What the problem with us Arsenal fans is that if they're not got an Enio on the end of the name, or a Gabriel or something Brazilian, they're not a shiny kind of outfit really. But
they're not the Rolls Royce, are they?
and I'll put myself there exactly. I'll put myself there first. Is that
Mhm.
I had my reservations, and I continue to write him off. But I think just as we're saying with Arteta, and we obviously talk about transfers later, but as we are trusting Arteta in the transfer window or the team, Edu and
Mhm.
Arteta, we've also got to trust him with our sort of immediate players as well. And
Of
if
course,
he's
of
seen,
course.
because I know there was a lot of people talking about writing Eddie off 100k a week, um,
Yeah.
number 14 shirt. Although that really shirt numbers are not
That
really
yeah, that came out of nowhere. I think that was
it's not
poor
a
from
big
our
deal for
fans.
me that he's wearing the same shirt number as Henry. But look, at the end of the day, if he and I refer back to one of our shorts that's doing the rounds on the internet, doing really really well on views, where I said that he would outscore Gabriel Jesus. If that ends up happening, then at the end of the season, I mean, if he keeps us in, firing in goals that keep us in a title race, you'd be saying that actually that's a justified amount of money. Maybe that's actually good business,
That's
100k
good
a
business,
week,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
for a backup striker that came in and was scoring goals during the period of when our main striker was away.
Yeah, and I think you have to understand as well, this is an academy player. If players are coming through the academy, people or young, talented players need to join the Arsenal academy and see this as a route. People have bigged up the likes of Bukayo Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. I think people need to start putting the same level of respect towards Eddie as well. He's
Definitely.
from our academy, from the youth academy. He's
Including
come to
ourselves, I think, Zed, we've both written him
exactly.
off, haven't
Of
we?
course, of
So
course, of course.
he keeps coming back and proving us wrong. And even when he had that run last year against Chelsea, when he scored two, so
Yeah.
they kept saying, well, can he do it in a big game? Well, those his goals help us
Well,
beat Chelsea away. He's a goal machine, and I think we actually quite fortunate to have him. What I have been impressed with him is that his ability to sort of still hold up the play, and
yeah.
bring others in. That I was a bit worried about his ability to do the Jesus role. He's never going to be a Jesus, is he? Let's be honest. He's
No,
not that kind of player. He's not built like that. He hasn't got that same
no.
level of agility. Um, but listen, if he what I look, I'll end on Eddie on saying this
Yeah,
is that really where I want to see him is I want to see him scoring the first goal in an important game.
absolutely.
Because at the moment the goals he's scoring are generally sort of helping us win games. I really
Yeah.
want to see him score, maybe the only goal in a 1-0,
Mhm. So
the first goal in,
you want him to lead the line like a true striker
yeah,
will,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is to get you goals, which get you points, essentially,
absolutely.
right?
And
And
that's going to help his confidence as well, Zed. That's
absolutely,
going to help him because at the end of the day, he needs to have that I'm the main man syndrome, you know.
absolutely,
And I think you look, we're going to be talking about North London derby later. What better game? What better game for him to announce
to step
himself,
up.
to step up? Yeah, just to
Yeah,
shut up the haters.
absolutely, mate. Okay, mate. Just to circle back to the actual Brighton game. I
Mm,
mean, just from my point of view, we want to summarize this. We have two other games to talk about. Is that we didn't have much possession in the entire game itself. I kind of found ourselves that while we were scoring and taking our chances and even creating chances, it didn't seem comfortable. I don't know if that was for you. And it kind of showed towards the end of the game when Arteta made those substitutions. I know we've talked about the lack of depth. as well. But when he made the substitutions, the quality dropped, and we
Yeah,
obviously leaked 2 goals. But to me, again, throughout the game, while Arsenal looked like they were dominating, it
yeah,
didn't seem comfortable.
yeah. So Arsenal, generally speaking, the new Arsenal, if you want to call it that, they've
Yeah,
generally prided themselves on, for me, what I think is sort of an unsung hero aspect of the way we're playing is the way that Arsenal are seeing out games. And
yeah.
generally speaking, when we've got our first 1 to 11, we probably see that out without conceit. That's probably a 4-0 game, I think, to be honest with you.
Hmm. It should be. It
Um,
should be.
you know, you when you go away and you score 4 goals, you generally have to open up a little bit. So you expect sometimes a goal, especially when it's away from home. I
Hmm.
was quite concerned though with the changes that were made,
Yeah,
which left us really really inferior. And I know we're probably going to talk about this later when we're talking about Oxford as well, aren't we? Because that was our
yeah, yeah.
second string. But I think when the sort of likes of party, well, if I remember correctly, wasn't it a fullback change that
Yeah, so is Zinchenko came off for Tierney, and then Ben White came off for Tomiyasu. That was the
yeah,
first change made around 60 minutes, and
yeah.
then then another change was uh, Party coming off for Elneny, and then the final
Yeah.
change, which was
So I think that's probably
87
where
minutes.
we lost it. We probably underestimate. I mean that the role that Zinchenko is playing at the moment, and that's this is probably a pod we could have alone on the subject of Tierney versus Zinchenko. I mean Zinchenko is in this team and in this system. Let's have it right. He's far superior playing that role than Kieran
Hmm.
Tierney. Although he's a brilliant player, and I love Tierney, his just ability to trap the ball, move it around very, very quickly is far super, and then his positional play as well. I think what happened is when we took Zinchenko off,
Hmm.
um, and we took our two full backs off it at the same time, Ben White as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
We basically lost control. We lost control
yeah.
of the
Yeah,
midfield because that's where Zinchenko was kind of filling in, and we also underestimate how important Ben White is to this system as well.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
I hope, but I'd say this though, Zed. I didn't think that we were ever at worry of losing the game, although
Hmm.
it was a bit of a scare. It was a bit worrying
Yeah.
because we when they did score those 2 goals, we looked like old Arsenal for a second there.
That's exactly what it was, right? When it became 3-2, I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go again.
Yeah,
Here
and
we
then
go again."
then was the goal, wasn't it? That was ruled offside, wasn't it? Which was
Yeah, yeah.
offside, but
Which was
on another
offside,
day,
but by honestly
on a
by a
whisker.
width of a
On
hair.
another day, with our luck with VAR, they don't even check it. You know what I mean, right? You
Exactly,
know,
and it's given it's 3-3. So,
yeah.
um,
So
I,
you know,
I agree.
it was one of those games where I think we were a little bit scared. But as
Hmm.
you say, when the fourth goal went in, we were kind of sort of home and dry. But I think what I was about to just say then is that one thing though is he does still make mistakes, Arteta, but
Arteta, yeah.
he generally does learn quite quickly from them. So you'd probably not find him take your two fullbacks off at 60 minutes again in another game in the season.
Probably, but I think when you're 3-0 up, you do think that you have one eye on the next fixture.
But is
But
that's the question? Is there an underestimating or an overestimating, really, of what the squad can do on his part? That's a question, isn't it?
I think the problem. I think there is a bit of both. I think it's more overestimating and trusting his players, but as a manager, you have to have that. I think the problem is the KT is more of a conventional attacking football fullback rather than Zinchenko, who's an inverted fullback. That makes a big difference, and I completely agree with you. But Ben White and Tomiyasu, while Ben White's been great and he has been absolutely nailing down that right hand, fullback spot, I don't think that is much of a downgrade. I don't think it's a downgrade between Ben White and Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu can come
I
in,
think that
do the
was
same
though,
job.
Zed, and I'll tell you why.
Mm.
And I've seen Tomiyasu come on games since then.
Yeah, yeah.
He isn't match fit. He clearly has lost rhythm because he's not starting games anymore,
Hmm.
and I do worry about him coming on to hold on to games. I really do. His positional sense has been a little.
He's
uh,
rusty, basically, isn't it?
rusty, yeah, a little
Yeah,
rusty,
no,
and that's why I think Ben White was clearly tired in that game, so he
he
did
was,
need
he
to be
was.
sub. I probably would have just given him a few minutes more and not taken off both fullbacks at the same time. But overall,
Fair,
a good
fair enough,
result.
fair
You know,
enough.
if who cares now? You know, three
No, no,
points in the bag, 4 goals scored.
absolutely,
It is what it is.
absolutely. It is what it is, but I still wasn't fully comfortable. But anyway, mate,
No,
let's
no,
get on to the next game, which was at home to Newcastle. Surging Newcastle, I think that's the right way to
yeah,
put it. They have been absolutely flying. I think if they had won, they would have gone second in the table, and they
they would
came
have.
to the league
Yeah,
leaders. And credit to Eddie Howe, his team came and played the way they wanted to initially, but then adjusted to deal with the enormous amount of pressure that Arsenal were putting them under. I think Arsenal were the superior team throughout this game. They were very, very good, and Newcastle had to, get a bit rough and ready. And the referee, oh my God, don't even get me started
yeah,
on
it
the
was
bloody
awful.
referee this game. So inconsistent. I mean, the yellow card to Eddie Nketiah for no reason because he's shown two yellows to Newcastle for actual fouls were just beyond stupid. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was a tough game with plenty of yellow cards. I think 9 yellow cards all over in total. So it was one of those games that had me nervous for a red card. I thought, knowing Arsenal's luck with red cards, most likely Xhaka was going to get it
yeah,
for
yeah,
one channel or the other, challenge or the other, and the Newcastle were going to snip it. But um, overall, I think Arsenal. This we knew this was going to be a tough game, and in the last episode, we did agree on the fact that this was going to be a draw. It turned out to be a draw, but not
yeah.
for the lack of trying. And I think this highlighted a biggest problem, which was that when we face a superior defensive team who can shut down, we run out of ideas. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I thought that you were going to credit me there when you said credit to Eddie Howe with my prediction of getting a draw. Clearly, you
Oh,
weren't
come
that
on, mate. We both
impressed.
said it was going to be a draw.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
obvious it was going to be a draw.
Yeah, I think I disagree with you in that Eddie
Mm.
Howe came to set up how he wanted to. If you look at
Mm.
how Newcastle have been setting up in every other game this season, or most games this season, I know they have a number of draws to their name, but they've generally been an attacking team, especially when they've
Mm.
played at home. They've got really good attacking players. They've
They
got
have.
good strikers. They've got really tall players. They fill the box when it comes to corners and set pieces. Eddie Howe has done an amazing job with them. I was disappointed with them though, if I'm honest, and this is where I disagree with you because
Okay.
they everybody will say, oh, they've got no chance of winning the league. This year's league could be one of 3 or 4 teams. If I mean, we're going to go on to it later, but if certain fixtures go a certain way this weekend, i.e., Manchester United beat City, we lose against Spurs, and
Mm.
Newcastle win whoever they're playing against, right? You've all of a sudden you've got 2 or 3 teams that are in a title race, really. And what I
Mm.
would have
Yeah.
liked is I would have liked Eddie Howe to show a little bit more impetus in this game and open up a little bit.
Mm.
Now there was a statistic going around, and don't quote me on this, but there was something
Okay.
like that in the whole 90 minutes of the game, the ball had only been played for I think around 50 total minutes because of the amount of time wasting
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
rolling around on the floor and putting the ball out for throwings and what have you, and probably the yellow cards and the stoppages for that.
Yeah.
And I think, and it was only a measly 5 minutes given at the end, which again I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
comes down to the officials and how awful they were. But yeah, as Ed, I would have liked Newcastle to come out to play, and
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately they didn't. Because I tell you something, had they come out to play, they are a very good team. He's done a brilliant job with them. We did play well. I wasn't disappointed with our performance. I think what I am disappointed, and probably this is the game that Arteta will absolutely put a video in front of the board and say, this is why we need some depth. This is why we need more
Absolutely.
signings in the attacking third, because actually, this probably was the most superior. No, actually, not probably. statistically, it's actually fact. They are the best low block. When they want
They're the
to low
best
block,
defense in the league. They're the
they have
best
the best
defense in the
defense
league.
in the league, um, and they, as you correctly said, they did come with those intentions, not to really give much away, not to really be adventurous, and I think unfortunately they made the game a little bit of a, they made the sentiment of the game a bit of a mockery, because I really think they could, as you said earlier, they could have gone second in the league and really put on a title challenge. Forget
I
Champions
think,
League.
yeah,
Man
I
City are
think
very rocky at the moment, and
they are. They are.
we know from last night. I know they played quite a good team last night. They've got a good players. Man City, they're rocky and they're going to drop points. And these guys could have come and said, right, do you know what? Just as we did at St James's Park last season, when they beat us and they beat us
Mm.
proper, they could have gone in with that momentum. And I was very, very disappointed that they didn't open up a little bit more, because I do think that had the game be a bit more adventurous, we probably would have picked them off and won.
I think, but the reason why I was bringing in the Eddie Howe stuff and why I was saying that he came with a plan. If you're going to a team which is one of the best attacking teams in the league right now in Arsenal, right? You don't go there. You look at your squad and you see, okay, if we play an open, expansive game and try to attack them, Arsenal will counter us and they will score goals, right? So if you're going to go away from home to the league leaders, that's the kind of thing you do. You get away with a
Yeah,
point and you say,
you'd
okay,
say you'd argue on
that's
their
good.
perspective. It's a
Of
great point,
course,
you know.
it was.
But I,
It was
but
a
I'm
great
I'm
earned
I'm I'm
point.
looking I'm looking though in the context of the season, because at the end of the day, they are going to be up there. They've done really, really well.
Yeah.
But do you know something? I'd rather, if I were Newcastle, with the momentum that they've got at the moment and some of the teams that they've beat and drawn
Hmm.
against in their backyards, by the way,
Yeah.
I'd have liked for them to just show a bit more adventure, you know. And sometimes that adventure doesn't pay off. But Eddie, if you look, you've got to
I
remember
think
Eddie Howe's football from Bournemouth, very attacking.
very
He's an
attacking. Yeah.
attacking
Well,
manager.
that's why I was giving him the credit, right? Because he has learned that you can't. He adapted his game to give respect to Arsenal, to the
Yeah,
team
I
that they
agree with
were,
that. I
right?
do agree
So
with that. Yeah.
and he made the best choice for his team, given the squad he has and where he is in the season. Remember, their target wasn't even the Champions League this season. Their target
Mm.
was, you know what? We're just beat the drop last season. Let's just finish mid-table and see what we can get while we
Yeah, yeah,
build the squad,
yeah.
right?
I hear that.
Credit has to be given to what he's done with players like Joe Linton to turn them around into a
Yeah,
properly good team which is fighting for Europe. So
yeah, yeah,
if a point is on offer from the league leaders, I'm going to take that point and I'm going to give him
yeah, yeah.
respect for that.
I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah.
But I just think, look, just for me to end on this, there's more
Yeah.
quality in their team for them to be a little bit, for the defensive nature they showed. They have got quality in that team, and we've seen it across the other games that they've played and some of the teams have beaten. So,
Yeah.
look, I mean, overall for me, I'd say that we didn't lose the game. You
No.
know, we did come up against the best defensive team in the league at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
So it's a point gained in that respect. But as I say, the bigger picture is that we need to be signing players that can come on from the bench and really have a go at beating some of the more superior low blocks. Although I don't think we will come up against a block as low as that one for the rest of the season. But there you go.
No, no. They came with a game plan. They wasted as much time as they could. They made as
I just
many.
hope, Geordies, when we're at your place in the second half of the season, I hope you don't do that. Come out and play with us. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see what they do in the market. I'm sure they're going to spend some money, so they'll be a better team at that point than what they are right
I'm not
now.
so
They're
sure
looking
they
good.
will. I'm not so
You're not
sure they
sure,
will.
really?
No, I think they've got a really good blueprint at the moment. And what you've got to remember with transfer windows, as much as we like to see brand new shiny players and whatnot, is that when they're in the situation that they are, and they've got a good small group of players that are all well oiled
Mm.
and doing the
Well
job at the
drilled.
moment, yeah, well drilled. And then don't forget you've got Isak that has just come back as well
Yeah,
last
yeah.
night. A quality striker, paid a lot of money for him. You've got to sometimes think that bringing in new shiny players can upset. the kind of momentum and the chemistry of a group.
Hmm.
So I think that Eddie Howe will be thinking, unless something sort of spectacular comes up that's a sensible kind of signing, I think you'll be thinking that we've got what we need for the rest of the season. But again, this isn't a Newcastle podcast, so we'll let them make their own mind
let,
up. Yeah,
let's move on. Let's move on.
yeah,
So that was a Newcastle game. So the third game that's happened in this busy season was uh, Oxford United away for the FA Cup. And again, this is where we're going to touch upon the starting 11, which
yeah,
was
yeah.
definitely the
Well, it's
second
our
string.
second string, wasn't it? But
Well,
other than
other
our
than the
front
top
three, yeah,
front three,
yeah,
which
yeah,
was a bit more of a, which is one of the key concerns which we'll address during the transfer window section of this podcast. But the front three are basically playing every single game, but everything else was changed. So we got Matt Turner, Tommy Asu, Holding. Gabriel is another player which has played basically every game because we don't
yeah,
have a sided centre back as a backup. So we've got Tini, Lokonga, Elneny, Vieira, and then the front three as it is. So I think the game was obviously not live broadcast as far as I'm aware. Well, I didn't watch it anyway. I just saw the
yeah.
highlights. It looked okay. Uh, did you catch the game? What do you think?
Yeah, I did. It was live broadcast. But I can't remember.
That's how much I know.
Yeah, I can't remember where exactly
Yeah.
it was live broadcast because I think all FA Cup games are on the TV, so it would have been on something like ITV or BBC. But anyway,
Yeah.
I did watch it. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed with the first half, and again, this is obviously what we're going to kind of discuss in terms of our second string and the quality there.
Hmm.
I think, I mean, there was no Chaka, there was no Party. And my thoughts on Party. When Party is not in the side, we just do not tick.
Yeah, yeah.
We just
He's
do
the
not tick.
glue. He's the engine.
El Neni. I mean, I know. Interesting that the fans have made him a song as well, which is lovely to hear. El Neni.
After 8 years, bloody deserves it,
Yeah,
man.
after 8 years. Well, everybody's getting a song these days, aren't they? So, why not? Look, I think that side was enough to beat Oxford. It should
Of
have,
course, yeah.
and that's one thing when I'm making comparisons with your Arsene Wenger's and even your Unai Emery is our second string was much worse than this, but we would statistically we'd perform better. You generally find that these kind of games away at Oxford on a cold, wet, windy evening, second string would do it with the eyes closed. We'd find in the
Yeah.
Europa League, if you remember, I mean, I'm just bringing back some very recent history. Our second string really sort of were poor generally. I mean, away at Eindhoven is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
games that I'm referring to, and I know Eindhoven are not an Oxford, but I am really concerned. I am really concerned with the actual ability to move the ball up to the front three. That's
Yeah.
really where my concern is. I mean, you've
The
got
lack of creativity.
yeah. I mean, look, let's break it down a little bit. Saliba wasn't there, and Ben
Yeah.
White wasn't there. Two great carriers of the ball.
Hmm.
Gabriel, I think he's improving in terms of his ball distribution. But when we look at sort of your Ben Whites, your
Zinchenko.
Zinchenko's. They're all really
Very.
good ball distributors. They can find your midfield. They can find your front three. And I think in that first half, the ball's just not moving up to them. We're playing basically our first team front three here, or
Yeah, yeah, we
available
are.
front three. Um, Eddie was dropping deeper and deeper and deeper to try and get involved in the play. You've got a £35 million signing in Vieira. He just wasn't getting a kick, to be honest with you. It just wasn't happening. They came out much better, I have to say, in the second half. But again,
Yeah, he looked much improved in the second
much more
half.
improved, and the bit between his teeth, and again, this is where your management comes in. I think Arteta must have said something to them at half time. But again, Zed, let's be honest, the game really only changed when Chaka and Zinchenko came on, and
Yeah.
and and, and again, that's where I think the concerns are. This would be the second video I'd be showing to the board and saying, look at that first half, guys. We really need some quality. Look at Man City, and I know they lost last night, so it's probably a
Hmm.
little bit of a poor example. But if you look at their bench, any of their bench can come into the first team. You know, they're all first team players, and I think this is where we need to really look at We should not be signing replacements.
Hmm.
We should be signing first team players that can
Yeah,
come in and compete, competitors. So that's what I'll say on the Oxford game. But look, we won the game. I don't want to come across negative or pessimistic. We won the game and we won it convincingly. And hats off again to my guy Eddie Nketiah, because again, you know, keep writing him off and he keeps coming back and he scored. I have to say, Zed, again, just for ending on this, two sumptuous goals. That dink for the second goal was
that was good. That was
it
good.
was I'm gonna get torn for this if you clip me, but it was Henry-esque. It was number 14. it was
Oh,
it was that dink was hot. It had flashes of Henry. I know you're gonna short this. I know you're gonna clip me. Do you know what I mean?
I am, mate. I am.
And I'm
I am.
probably gonna get ripped, but I'll say it is just the running behind. I mean, for the first goal as well, that sort of rounding of the keeper, you just felt like Eddie's never gonna, he can't miss this. He won't miss this, you know. And I know that the guys out there will go, no, it's only Oxford away, but we've
It
got to
is
be,
only Oxford away.
yeah. But on a cold, wet, windy night where they've only got three stands and the other stand is your car park, right? Yeah, right. You've got to beat who's in front of you, and you've got to remember these last couple of seasons we haven't really hit it off at these stages of the FA Cup. So big
Hmm.
up my guy Eddie, you smashed it. Two great goals, right? And who was the third goal again?
Channeling the king to Thierry Henry, is he? Is
Yeah, yeah.
he?
I mean, I am going to get busted for that from the man then, but it is what. Sorry, Zed. Who was the third goal? I want to say
It
Martinelli.
was no, no, it was the first goal scored by Mo Lenny, a header
Oh,
from
the header.
Vieira's
It was a
cross.
header. Yeah, big up Mo Elneny as well, because a lot of my Arsenal groups, my people have saying he needs to go and he's not. He's only worthy of taking the bins out if he was your neighbour and
Ah,
this and that
bro,
kind of
bro,
slander. Listen, he's a good servant to the club, and I was
he
really
is.
pleased to see him score as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He's look. I don't get the hate for him. He does the job. He comes in. You know, when he look, we know he's not the most talented player, but when he comes in, he's one of those professionals who will get a job done to the best of his ability. And you can't fault a guy like that, right? And he loves the club. He's been in. He's the longest serving player right now. And you know what? I don't get people.
As
Put some
fans,
respect
though,
on my.
Zed, as
Yeah,
fans, we don't want to see our players strolling around the pitch, right?
of course not. Of course
And
not.
heads
I don't think he
dropping.
does. I don't think he
He
does.
gives a
He's
100% whenever
every
he's
time.
on that pitch, and again, he's not an Iniesta. You
Of
know,
course not.
he won't put through balls through. Although actually, he did put a good few through balls through that. Unfortunately, didn't always end up meeting the player. But he will give 100%, and for that, I
Absolutely.
always will respect him. He'll go down for me
Absolutely.
as again. This is going to get
A
clipped,
model
but
professional.
well, I
Absolute
was going to
model
say he'll go
professional.
down as one of the legends for me, but
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Mo
let's not go
Elneny,
that
the
far.
Arsenal legend.
The Arsenal Wait, if he wins a Premier League, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Why
He
not?
might have a, might not. Okay, so yeah, that was the Oxford game, and I agree with you. I think we lack depth, but I'm going to disagree with you on one point. I don't think it's
Shock horror.
Vieira. Yeah, yeah. It's. I don't think it's Vieira. I think when you see the way Martin Odegaard plays in the main team, as you say, he's got Party to mop up on, and even Xhaka to mop up on, right? And Xhaka is a passing master as well. When you've got yourself surrounded with Lokonga, who's been a bit of a disappointment, I think he still has ways to
I think
go.
he was poor.
Yeah,
I think
and
he was
El
poor.
Neni,
Yeah, yeah,
it's you can see why Vieira is not able to do what he's able to do, which is pick those pockets of space, pick up the ball, and just deliver it. He did
yeah,
that for Eddie's goal when he rounded the keeper. That was a perfect ball, first time, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I think Vieira has got potential, but I would like to see him get more involved in the first team to see what he can really do,
yeah,
surrounded by the likes of Xhaka and Party, who need to be have proper backups in the next summer transfer window, or if we can address it in January, that's what we need. We need a
yeah,
backup for Party, a quality backup for Thomas Party, or even someone who can challenge him for the starting spot, and the same for Granit Xhaka. But anyway, 3-0. We move on to the next round. I think
Yeah.
we're playing Man City, are we?
Man City away, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I think we're going to
Go on.
beat them. I think we
Ooh.
once we're in that kind of round, I think City are jittery at the moment. They're not in a great place. I think we're going to beat them at the Etihad. I really do.
Oh, that's a hot take, mate. Let's see what happens. But mate, we've bigged this up all throughout our discussion today.
Yeah,
So let's get on to it. The most important part, we're in the January transfer window. Nearly halfway is gone, right? But we're here. We were linked with Jean Felix. He is now a Chelsea player and getting a red card as of today. We're recording this on Thursday, guys. So yeah, he's just got sent off in the game, fresh
loving
off
it,
into the Premier
loving
League.
it.
All right, trying his Simeone-esque tactics in the Premier League, and referees having none of it. So he's come in and he's off. I think a lot of Arsenal fans are angry, disappointed. I don't know the
Yeah,
word for it.
I think there's a division on the Joe Felix thing, Zed, because look, I'll tell you my views first. I mean,
Go on.
if we'd have signed him, okay, I think for the depth that we were talking about a few minutes ago, I
Yeah.
thought he would be perfect for that because I
Mm.
mean, having watched him tonight before he was sent off, he was decent. He was and
Yeah.
actually for a player that's just literally come in used to very warm climate of football, playing in Spain, and coming on a very wet, windy evening. Um, sort of in London, in South London, he showed some really good grit and desire. Obviously, the
Mhm.
tackle was a little bit over zealous,
Enthusiastic.
um, but I constantly were thinking, right, is that would he get in the team over Martinelli
No,
at this moment in time?
I don't think I need
And
to say
and
anything
and and
further.
and and the answer is no. He wouldn't get in the team over
No.
Martinelli. You see, and I just think that a lot of people have these arguments and go, well, it's not your money. Why are you bothered about the money? It's not about me being bothered about the money, Zed. This is Arsenal Football Club. They've always been bothered about the money. This is our model. This is how we've been run. We've been run like this since the Arsene Wenger accountant days, right? Arsene Wenger wasn't necessarily an Arsenal manager. He was Arsenal bloody accountant, you know.
He was
And and
Arsenal, mate.
and one thing that a lot of our fans, we need to listen to this really is we've got a lot of we've had a lot of deadwood on our books that have really dented our financial turnover and situation. And one thing that I do
Yeah,
commend the
yeah.
club and this new regime about is we're not going to make those same mistakes again. We're not going to bring in
Hmm.
players that are overpaid and are not going to necessarily, I think the club will invest the money where they feel it's worth it and they're feeling
Yeah.
it's going to add value. And I think we're probably certainly in the last 5, 6, 7 years, we're in our best and most sensible position transfer wise in terms of finances. That's what I would
Oh,
say.
absolutely.
Let me just
Absolutely,
finish
mate.
on the Felix thing, right?
Go
Okay.
on.
The second thing about the Felix thing is when I heard the terms that where Chelsea had signed him on, i.e., that he wasn't going to stick around and that he'd actually extended his contract with Atletico Madrid.
Atletico.
I thought I'm glad that we didn't get because what I was hoping with the Felix thing is that it would be a bit of an Odegaard, a
Hmm.
kid that had kind of gone for big money
Missing. Yeah.
early in his career, was missing for a while,
Hmm.
and maybe he was missing because he wasn't at the right club and moved too soon, gone for big
Yeah.
money, and we might have been able to snap up a bargain in the summer because Atletico may have wanted to get rid of him, and he'd
Yeah.
done his bit with us, and actually there was a clause in there that maybe would have given us an option. In the absence of that option, this kid is just coming to play for 6 months. And I'll
Yeah. Yeah.
finally say this is that what's he going to do for Chelsea? Because even after their loss tonight against Fulham,
Fulham. Yeah.
the best that they can hope for is the Conference League. Well, what's what's that going to do for them? They're on a mad one, Chelsea are. We could do a whole pod on them, to be honest with you. I am actually glad, and I'll say this for the record, and the Gunners out there will probably in mass disagree with me. I think we dodged a bullet.
You know what? I don't think people will disagree with you. I think um, Chelsea is in that kind of mode where they see someone else linked with a player. They're like, I could get him, and it was clear when the reports came out that Arsenal and Manchester United were willing to pay that ridiculous 11 million euro loan fee, which is stupid, plus wages. So you know what? As much as I would have said that he would have added depth, I agree with you. He wouldn't have started right at all. He would have added depth, but he's probably not the right player at the right time or the right price for Arsenal. But let's get on to a player that does want to come to Arsenal. He's
Haha.
begging it to come to Arsenal. Hashtag free Mudrick.
Free
What is
Mudrick.
happening, mate? What's happening? What's the latest
So
news
the
from
the
your
latest
side?
the latest on this is, and you know I wait for the tier ones because you've got a lot of lower tier journos that are talking about, oh, this and that has been done and a deal has been doing. A lot of them are coming out of the Ukraine, um, maybe clout chasing because they think they can get
Hmm.
clicks. The latest from Fabrizio is a tweet that has come out this evening that a third official offer now has
Third,
been
wow.
made. A third official offer has been made to the club, and this looks like it could be the one. You know, Fabrizio. You see, these journals are very careful with the wording that they use.
Yeah, yeah.
He used the words something along the lines of things are getting closer. You know, and that's good. That's good to hear because I think, and I've said this to you sort of all along. I think this is one that will get done. You know, um,
I think so, but it will drag,
it will drag, and it will probably go to the last days of the window. And
most likely.
I think the reason, and again, this is where our gunners need to deploy some patience. Is that if Arsenal are going to sign this player, they're not going to sign him. I was actually listening. If I'm Ben Jacobs, he was on a
Hmm.
pod this morning, and
Yeah,
he said he put it, I think, in a really really sensible way. He said Arsenal will walk away
yeah.
if this deal goes
If it's not right for them,
sideways
yeah.
and it's not at the right price. They are absolutely the best poker players, right, when it comes to transfers, right? Yeah, is all of the skills of maybe bringing in your Chelsea to kind of try and put a bit of pressure on and whatnot. Arsenal will walk away if this
Yeah,
deal is
yeah.
not done at the right price. Now, I have also read as well today, Zed, that the Ukraine national team coach
Hmm.
has come out and said, and I quote, he said, "100 million euros for him, never going to happen. No
Yeah.
team is paying that in the world.
Yep.
This will happen. More likely, it will happen. Not as much as what the team want for him,
Hmm.
but it will be enough for them to be grateful for,
Yep.
and it will be a sensible outcome of that Arsenal will be happy with, and the team will be happy with." But he did say,
Sensible man.
yeah, he did say that this will probably go, which will frustrate our Arsenal fellow Gooners. It will probably go into the next few weeks. This isn't anything that's going to happen. Everybody's, oh, well, if he would be ready for the North London derby. And this is what I'm
Nope.
saying about this, finally, I'll say on this, Zed, as well, is the boy hasn't played football since November because they're in their season break at the
Yeah, yeah.
moment, right? They're on a
He
training
he's
camp
not
in
game fit.
Turkey.
He's not match
Yeah,
fit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's not match fit. So again, our the eye test merchants, as people call them out there, might go. He'll be ready for the North London derby. We have a very strict regime of fitness at the club. I wouldn't be
We have
surprised
standards.
if exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if he. Let's just say we signed him this week. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make the match day squad for the next couple of match days
Oh, he
because of his
won't. He won't.
fitness.
I
You
think
know?
I agree with two things that you've said already. Number one, the Arsenal regime, as they are right now, the Arsenal board and Edu plays a big part in this as the technical director. They scout a player and they know what they're going to pay for it, right? They have already decided what they will are willing to go to. They will obviously start low and work their way up. They know what they will pay, what they want to pay for a player because they have estimated after their scouting what this player is worth to them.
Yeah,
Because remember, transfer market is all about what a player is worth to the buying club and what the player is worth to the selling club. In this case, to Shakhtar, the selling club, Modric is worth 100 million, and to Arsenal as a buying club, he's nowhere near 100 million,
yeah,
right? So I 100% agree that Arsenal will walk away if it's not the right deal because they've learnt the lessons. The way Arteta, Edu, and Vinay now what you call operate is such that they have their standards, they have their limits. If someone says no, they'll walk away. It was the same thing if you go back to the summer where they wanted Martin Odegaard. They wanted no one else. People were like, why not just get James Madison? Why not just
Yeah,
get James Madison?
yeah,
Why not get Bondia? Why not get Bondia for 35 million? We could have had him, blah, blah. And the entire fan base was in an uproar when Aston
yeah,
Villa signed Bondia and
yeah.
we didn't sign James Madison, but they stuck to it.
And
They
look how
bought
that
Martin
turned out.
Odegaard,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
exactly, he's worth double the price, and he's the club captain,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
So I will
I hear
trust
you.
this.
I'm with you.
I will trust these guys to do
Exactly, and that's what I
get
was
the
kind
job
of
done.
saying earlier. And the other sort of side of this, because we've also got to look on both sides, not just the Arsenal side. But Shakhtar have got to be really, um, they've got to be really careful as well that
Hmm.
they don't end up trying to chew off more than they can bite here. Because if they try and be too clever,
Yeah.
there won't be a deal done for him
No.
this winter. Um, you then got an unhappy because we haven't mentioned it today, but we on the previous pod we know how much the player wants to come to us.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we know
Hashtag
we
free
know
Mudrick.
we know also from reading around that his players who he's got really good affiliation and good chemistry with in the club are already have been saying for months about him playing for Arsenal, and they're already
Yeah.
teasing him about it. So and again, I've been doing a little bit of research into his character as well.
Mm.
Apparently, he's a really, really humble boy. We're all saying, why isn't he putting in a transfer request?
Yeah.
He actually sees this as a really, really grateful opportunity. He's a really humble boy, very religious.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's got a Jesus tattoo on his neck as well. So that tells you a little
All
bit
right.
about his character, and he's not going to upset the club that, if you like, brought him the
Mm.
fame of where he is today. And I respect
Yeah.
that. I do respect that. I know it's football's a cutthroat game, and when it comes to transfers, but look, if this goes through, we've got a player on our hands here, Zed. We've
Hopefully
got
he
a
does look
player.
to be it, but I
He
will make
looks
my
he looks Premier
decisions.
League. He looks built for the Premier League, Zed. And can you
Or
imagine?
I'm not going to get caught up in the hype train, mate. I know you
No, no,
always
but
do
let me
this,
just say
but
this, Ed.
I'm
Let
not
me
getting
just
caught
say
up in
this.
the hype
Let
train.
me just say this. 0-0 versus Man United. With 20 minutes to go, right? And you bring this guy on, right? And he's got all the attributes. He can strike a ball hard, Zed. Right? He's got pace for days. Apparently, somebody said that he's got feet like Alexander Hleb in terms of his ability to move the ball around with his feet, and he's got pace
Okay.
like Theo Walcott. And I did see another statistic the other day that said that he's one of the fastest. I think he's the top fastest sprinter in the European leagues. Right?
Well, you're gonna
Um,
have to send me those stats, man,
I,
because
I,
they
I will
seem
send
quite
you the stats.
interesting.
Said I've been really, really looking into this guy because I'm very, very excited. I don't want to get on the hype train as well because in case
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, we know what Arsenal have done to us last winter with Vlahovic. Hashtag Vlahovic. Right. Hashtag didn't answer the phone. So we know all about that. Right. Yeah. I do feel this will get done. But if it does get done, God willing, Zed, we have a player here, not just for now, as in this season, because I
Hmm.
do think he'll do something, not straight away, but eventually in the next few games, but for the future. I mean, and then finally, let's just imagine what that will do for Saka's game and
Hmm.
Martinelli's game, because they will know how much the
They're
club has
looking over their
invested in this
shoulder.
guy. They're looking over their shoulders and thinking, we need to up our game. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
Saka and Martinelli are already playing uh, class football, so I'm excited to see what they can take up if they
yeah,
have
yeah, yeah,
competition.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I think on another note, it's not a transfer, but it's something good to mention as well. Smith Rowe coming back,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
He
quite a
looked
boost.
rusty against Oxford.
Of
He did,
course, of course.
but he's going to look rusty. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, imagine having in your ranks a Mudrick, a Smith Rowe, a Saka, a Martinelli. I mean, that's then we're going into a Man
A Pepe?
City esque. Well, let's look. The fact that nobody's recalling Pepe back or wanting him back is telling you. But he's doing out all right for Nice. He scored a couple the other night, didn't he? And
Uh,
Was it
I'm
one or
not
two?
keeping a tabs with him, man.
Yeah,
He's
it's,
gone.
listen, Pepe's goal scoring attributes was never a problem. It was always just the rest, really. Um, but yeah, the less said about Pepe, the better. But look, look. That's some good firepower, man. That is some good
Yeah.
firepower.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very very promising. Hopefully, by the time we're doing the next part, there's some development, right? When we do the next episode, and we have hashtag freed Mudrick. So,
Yeah, yeah.
no other big links to be honest. There are some links for Yuri Tielemans, but obviously we know his contract's running out. Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal would do anything. They won't go in with a bid unless there's an injury crisis. Uh, so most likely they're going to try to sign him if they are still after him in the summer because he'll be a
Do
free
you want him,
agent.
Zed?
So I think he'll be a good backup or even a challenging starting challenging for Xhaka's role. I wouldn't say he's the party uh,
Well, no. I
replacement
mean,
or
he,
even
he,
a
he can't he can't be the because we've
he
spoken.
can't
He's not
defend.
he's not in that he's not that position. He's not that guy.
No,
But listen, this is where I am on Tielemans.
yeah,
Um, he's got 6 months left on his deal, right?
yeah,
If he really wants us, he'll wait for us for the summer, and we'll sign him on a free. You know,
exactly. And I don't
and
think he will.
again, is he? I'll ask you a question there, Zed. Is he getting in the team today over Chaka?
No, no, I don't think he is. But remember, you got to think he's 25 and Xhaka is 31,
Yeah.
right? Eventually, we will need to start rotating Xhaka. He plays an immense
I,
amount of
I, I
football,
hear
that guy
you, Zed,
does,
but let me
right?
interrupt you there. Is where we're likely and hopefully, God willing, likely to be in the summer, either winning the Premier League or coming second or third,
Yeah,
worst, I think,
in the
is that
Champions League,
in the
basically.
Champions League, is that can't we do better than Tielemans?
We can, but it depends. You're not going to get a player like Tielemans for free.
No, but don't forget, we will still be
But a
paying
squad,
for his wages.
yeah, yeah, no, but squad depth, we talked about this before, right? Quality squad depth is what we need. So I'll ask you a question: who would you rather have in that position as a backup, Lakonga or Tielemans?
Tielemans?
There you go. That answers my
Mm,
question.
yeah,
Another player that his contract's running out and could Arsenal could look for in that left-sided number eight role is a player that we've been linked with previously. His contract's running out, and Arsenal can sign him in January if they wanted to, but there's no reports for it for some reason. Is Jose Mawa? So, he's been linked to Roma, but I think Arsenal could do very well with getting him. He's not signing a new deal at Marseille, so oh sorry, Lyon. So it could be pretty easy and free deal to get a player like him in over a player like Tielemans on low wages because he's coming from France. I don't think he'll be on many, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds. So
yeah.
you could get him in as that left-sided number eight to challenge Xhaka.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched enough of him or at all of him really, so I
Yeah,
can't really tell you how he's doing. Hence,
I mean,
the
one
sort of
goal in 7 games is what he's doing.
yeah. I mean, I think look, I think the our conversations were taking place in the comparisons with the Odegaard role, if I'm honest with you. And I think that ship has sailed now. I
It
think
is.
where Odegaard's competition is probably going to be with your Smith Rowe coming back to
Vieira more
fitness
likely
and your
because Smith Rowe
Vieira.
is
Yeah.
with Martinelli,
But he
that
can play in
left-sided.
both of those positions. I think if the worst comes to the worst, because Vieira can also play in multiple positions.
He
But what I'm
can.
trying to say is I don't think the club are seeing that as a priority area at the moment.
No,
I think the area that should be looked at, and I know I sound like a scratch record here, Zed, is remember I keep saying to you that if
Thomas
Party gets
Partey.
injured, we don't bang.
No, and that's so. Finally, on this section, before we move on to predictions for the next couple of games, I think in the summer it's a discussion for the summer. But if Arsenal could somehow manage to get Declan Rice off West Ham to be
Yeah,
that challenge for Party, you've got yourself secured for the next 5 6 years, easy, even
yeah,
10 years to be honest.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But okay, mate, let's move on to the final segment of our pod episode today, which is looking at the next couple of fixtures. So obviously we've got the big one this Sunday, North London Derby. How are you feeling about that?
I'm probably feeling the most positive I have about the North London Derby, even being away at Spurs, than I have been for years. Last year's North London Derby away at Spurs, I still have night tremors about. Right? Is
That was a bad
You
one.
know, we played with a back line, including Rob Holding, El Neni was in midfield, Eddie Nketiah was okay. Nketiah conversation we've had, but I mean, we had a really depleted team then, and we probably should have got beat. Right?
Hmm.
I think we go there with our first team, right? On form, confident, doing
Hmm.
well, top of the league. Um, I'm more looking at Tottenham here now. I'm not
Yeah.
looking at us for a minute. For a minute here,
Yeah.
let's consider Tottenham. In all but one of their league games in the last 7 or 8, they've given up goals. In some cases,
Hmm.
they've given up 2 goals.
Yeah.
They are probably the slowest starters in the top half of the table. They are extremely slow at coming out the blocks. And once Zed is a mistake.
Yeah.
The second time it happens, it's an accident, right? The third time they say it's scientific.
It's
So
a
that
pattern,
that
isn't it?
that that, that points to me that is a tactical. um, that's not happening on accident. That is
Hmm.
happening in terms of their slow start and wanting to suck in the pressure. It is happening because it's something that they are, whether it's working or not is another thing, but they're trying something tactically. And I
Hmm.
think Conte, when we look at the personalities, is such a stubborn manager that
He
he's
is.
not about to change things up for Arsenal visiting. He will continue with his stubborn way. And he will probably even think that if we go 1 or 2 goals down, we know that we've got the firepower to come back into this game. And this is where I
Well,
will.
Harry Kane to score,
Well, we know
essentially.
Harry Kane is going to get a penalty, right? We know. And I was looking at that disgusting replay of when Cedric was adjudged to have pushed
Hmm.
a Son on. I mean, he should have been yellow carded for a bloody dive. Son should have then, but the penalty was given. Listen, we know Harry Kane is going to get a penalty. That is
Yep.
a fact, right? But what I think is going to happen here is we will come out of the blocks really quickly, Zed,
Hmm.
and I think we will go 2-0 up very quickly in the first half. But I
Yeah.
think we will have enough to see out the game, and that is what the difference is. Is I think that Conte thinks that he's got Arteta's number.
Hmm.
I think what will happen here is that we will tactically see out the game. I think we win this game 3-1, Zed.
Oh, that's a big prediction. But
Harry Kane
the
penalty.
Hurricane penalty, that's not much of a prediction. That's just facts of life at this moment. So, look, we haven't had a great record uh, away at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, right? Let's get this straight. It's been a bit torrid
Yeah.
off late whenever we've gone. I'm going back, let's say, to 2020, we lost there. Then Emirates Stadium, we win. Then 2022, we lost there as well. I think 2021, did we win? I think that was probably the only one we won in recent memory. Uh, but I agree with you on one fact, which is that Tottenham looked like an absolute rubbish
Train
team.
wreck. Train
Train
wreck.
wreck. Train wreck is the
Yeah.
word, right? They look
Yeah.
like an absolute train wreck. Uh, and it just seems like defensively they're all over the place. That's what happens when you say Eric Dyer is your best centre back, right? So uh, they're all over the place, and it's just not working out for them. And I'm
Yeah.
all
The
happy
only
for it. I
thing,
don't give a
yeah,
damn.
exactly. The only thing that's probably going to go in their favour is that when Kulishevsky and the chap in the middle, the one who's on loan from AC Milan,
He's not. Yeah,
Bentaker,
I don't think he's on loan. I think they've signed him now.
did they sign him?
Ben.
Okay,
Yeah, they signed both Bentancur and
Bentaker. I thought they were both still on loan, but anyway, um, when um, when they play, they are a
mhm.
much better team.
They
There's
are.
no
They
doubt
are.
about it. Whether they'll be fit enough to play, let's see. let's watch this
I
space.
don't I don't I don't think they will be. Hopefully they're not because they are good players to be honest. So I don't really
The other thing
want
that
them
goes in
playing.
their favour, Ed, is the atmosphere. In that new ground, they can absolutely drum up a very good atmosphere in the North London derby. We saw
Hmm.
that. But look, I think we're a different beast now, Zed, and I think that one thing is that we've learned from some of these painful results from last
Yeah,
year. I think that we will end up going into this with a lot more confidence because we've got
yeah.
our full team as well. I mean, obviously minus Gabriel Jesus. I think we go in and we confidently win this game, and by the end of the weekend, people are talking about us winning the league again.
All right. Wow. Wow. Okay. Look, mate. There's not much I can argue about it. It's Northern Derby. While whatever form we on, it's still gonna give me the heebie-jeebies, as they say, or the jitters. That's just the kind of game it is. That's the one game I never really want to lose. Right. Regardless, we can be 5-0 up, and I'll still be like, score another five. I don't give a damn. Keep
Yeah.
burying them. Right. Because that's just the sentiment attached to this game. Uh, but yeah, let's
Before you
see.
go, Zed,
Some
before you
Go on.
go, I told you Joe Felix would flop. I told you that he would flop, right? Is costing them something like five
11
hundred
million
thousand
euros.
pounds. £500,000 is in these 3 games that he's gonna miss, right? I told you he would flop.
Oh wait, that's gonna sting. That's gonna for all the
Big
money
up Joe
Chelsea's
Felix, yeah. Big
yeah,
up Joe
for
Felix, yeah.
all the money that Chelsea spent, that's gonna hurt the most. But mate, just circling back
Yeah.
before we end tonight's wonderful episode, is our next game after Tottenham is Man U. So two tough games coming up, one away at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and then one at home at Man U. Obviously, we'll discuss that in the next
Yeah,
pod in a lot of
I
detail.
don't take my prediction yet.
No, no, no,
Let's
we're
get
not
a
going
bank
to.
on and let's discuss it properly. But yeah,
Absolutely.
it's gonna be another tough game. But as I say, I think a lot depends on what happens at the NLD. If we
Yeah,
win that, we go in with confidence. We're at home. We've got really
of
good
course, of
record at
course.
home. We've only
Yeah,
dropped 2 points at home all season. Come on, that's
yeah,
a good
absolutely. And
record.
that was to Newcastle. But yeah,
Yeah,
good. So we'll break that down in episode 4.
let's
But
do it.
mate, all I gotta say is thank you very much. I know
I've
it's late
enjoyed
at
that.
night.
Yeah, it's been a really
Oh,
good chat. Yeah,
it's been good, and I hope our listeners and viewers enjoy it as well. If you enjoy the content we're producing, please give us a like and subscribe, and we will hopefully catch you in the next one. If you want to come on, drop us a message on under our videos, and we'll get in touch.